Correct. And that's how I started what I did, was because I was up in Cairns working 2 casual part-time jobs. One of them was for a federal politician. His name's Warren Ench. He's a LNP, which is right-wing, but he's quite centrist in my view. He pushes for medicinal cannabis. He pushes for gay marriage. And so I was working with him as one of his media advisors, which was just phenomenal to get an understanding of federal politics in Australia. And what I was getting the impression, though, because I used to... what frustrated me was all the television news was there's a house fire, there's a car crash, rah, rah, rah. It's all just doom, gloom, like nothing positive. And not only that, when you were in Cairns, all of that was like there's a car crash in Brisbane, there's a house fire in Sydney. And I'm sitting back in Cairns, 3,000 kilometres away going, I don't give a shit if there's a house fire down there. Like, tell me something that's happened in my backyard, please. Could someone do that? And it just was not happening. So in the end, I just got so frustrated that I said, well, how can I fix it if no one else is doing it? And all of the news, all of the main news networks are all just talking about all the rubbish and all the negativity. How can I just tell people about what are the positive things in their own backyard? The second thing was also that, you know, if there was an event in the city, I would read about it the day after in the newspaper. And I'd go, well, I would have gone to that event if I knew about it. Why did no one tell me? So in the end, I took it into my own hands and I said, well, I'm going to try a video podcast. And I thought Facebook would be good because they're a bit like YouTube. They're a different style. You know, people can share it a bit easier. People tend to scroll through on their news feed. So I said, okay. I picked up my phone and I went into my kitchen and I started recording. I said, good morning, Cairns. Here's what's happening in your backyard. There's this, there's this, there's this. There's a couple of events and told it off and, you know, signed it off.
Which is how it would have happened.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Uh-huh.
That's how radio would have started.
Yeah.
Someone went, I've got this little technology.
Can I broadcast?
I'm in Alice Springs or somewhere. Like,
yeah.
Can you hear me? Alice Springs. Good morning, Alice Springs. Isn't it?
It is.
That's how far down the track we've gone into funny, catchy little... it's David with the Weather Report.
Well, that's right. See, that's how radio started. And now what we see is commercial radio and all that is what it's evolved into over the years, which is, it's pretty cool. Like, it's very slick and polished. But you're right. In the early days, it would have been a guy with a little transmitter broadcasting out to whoever was in his immediate vicinity. And so that's how I decided to do it. A similar thing, but on the web. And again, instead of doing, as many people do, video, blogging, they're like, just yelling at the world and telling their opinion and, doing crazy stunts and cat videos and stuff. I thought, well, let's try and make it the 3 core values of journalism to me, which is to be educational, to be informative, and to be entertaining. And I didn't feel that there was much out there that was addressing that at a local level. So, so I started researching about the local news, and every morning I'd go to a different location. Well, it started. I mean, it's nervous. When you start... Sorry, I'm going to have another drink of Guinness. When you start, like anything... I mean, you would probably know this as well. It's actually really terrifying. You're beaming out. You think, who's going to listen? Who's going to care? Who's going to download or stream me?
Or the Aussie one, who's going to think I'm a wanker?
Yeah, who's going to think I'm a complete wanker and just go, who's this little...
Yep.
Well, what a waste of time.
I'm going to embarrass my family. All that stuff. Yeah,
exactly. All those thoughts go through your head. I mean, you and I are now at stages where we've kind of come through that a bit, but it's the early teething things where it is scary, yeah. The first video I made, I think, got 5 likes. Most of my friends. I thought, oh, that's not bad. I might do it.
But not all of them, the bastards.
No, that's right. Some of them still think I'm a wanker.
Look at us now.
Now
we showed you.
Exactly. But so like, that's right. You start really small. And even that, like I was doing it in my kitchen because I didn't want to be seen, even though I'm trying to be seen, I don't want to be seen. It's that little paradox. So I do it in my kitchen, and then I got really brave. I went out onto my back veranda and did the video from there. I got even braver and went underneath the house. I got even braver and started doing the video out in my front yard where the neighbours could potentially even hear me. as I did it. Again, terrifying.
So, like the one I saw you at Winders Park with the tripod and the...
Oh, no, Drew. When this started, this was like a mobile phone in a little, one of those pockets that can fold into a triangle with a little lapel mic, just like that. So it started so basic.
Yeah, wow.
And
what sort of year was this?
This was the beginning of last year.
Okay.
Yeah. High five. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And eventually I got brave enough and thought, you know what, I'm going to start doing it outside of my yard. That was terrifying. Because the moment anyone walked past as I was recording, I would sort of stop and just act like, scratch my head and like, no, I'm not talking to myself.
Hi, Mum.
That's right. Like, please don't look at me. And eventually, like, what happened one day, I was out at some little mangrovey area where no one could see me, hopefully, fingers crossed, and recording it. Good Morning Cairns again, and 2 Aboriginal guys walked past. And I went, okay, they're seeing me watching it. They can see me doing this. You know what? The best way to overcome this fear is to bring others in. You know what? Don't do it on your own. Bring others in. Let's all do it. So I said, guys, come over here. Let's look. I'm doing a video called Good Morning Cairns. And I said, all you got to do, look down the barrel of the camera, and all of us will go Good Morning Cairns together. And we did, all 3 of us. Good Morning Cairns. And it was the most beautiful moment I've ever had. Like it was like we were connecting. And we were saying good morning to Cairns. Good morning. Have a good morning, guys, Yeah. And we had a chat.
And no one was doing it.
No one else.
Isn't that the strangest thing?
Oh, yeah.
Like you said before, how did you get into it? I realised that if I don't do it,
no one else will.
No one else will. If I don't start now, then a year will go by and potentially no one else will interview my neighbour who was a 10-time Molokai Open Ocean paddleboard champion.
They were what?
Yeah, like, that. but you've pretty much had the same thought.
That's right. There are stories out there that need to be told. Good stories.
Yeah.
About local people.
And some of us, it's burning inside. We just want to.
You have to tell it. Yeah. And
brighten up our neighbourhood.
And that's what it's come down to, is brighten up the neighbourhood. So I progressed. So when they did it, something inside me clicked and I felt confident. And I thought, you know what, this can be bigger. And my partner, who is now my ex, she didn't believe in it either. She was sort of going, maybe, give it a couple of weeks. If it doesn't work, you can stop. But you stuck with it. And it grew from there. And eventually I was going around town and talking to all these different amazing people, as well as talking about the local positive stories. And it got bigger and bigger, and eventually I had the mayor on, and I had local politicians on, and I had local people talking about big issues. I had exclusives that other media, local media, didn't get. Like behind the scenes of the Cairns Art Expo, and all this. It became a cult following, just like this is, Yeah. That's what it is. They become cult followings, because I feel that instead of trying to talk to the world, you need to target an audience. You speak specifically to an audience. In my case, it started off as Cairns, the city. So obviously it's a limited audience. Not everyone cares. If you're in Japan, you're not going to listen or watch. And so it grew. Now, the drama came when, because obviously, as I mentioned before, I was working for a federal politician. Last year was an election year, and the opposition, people who wanted to, be elected, they said, oh, he's had that politician on but hasn't had all of these other opposition people on who aren't elected. Now, the reason I had the politician on was because him and his government had given us money for a pool. So that, to me, was a great story locally. And I wasn't talking about politics. So there was a drama, and I ended up on ABC's Media Watch.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was like, it went national. So and that day, I had so much hate mail coming through to the fan page. You're such an LNP hack, rah, rah, rah. And I was like, well, have you watched any episodes? Because if you have, like everyone who had. So the people who watched didn't care, and they knew it was just a beat-up.
Sure.
Which was Cairns. Cairns knew it was a beat-up by the Big Smoke down in Sydney.
Yeah, which is ironic when it's Media Watch.
That's right.
Creating their own show of it, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I had heaps of trolling, heaps of hate mail. But the next day, I got a tweet from the owner of Hot Tomato, who was like, could you give me a call? So I gave him a call, and he said, hey, we want to come down to the Gold Coast. I'll fly you down, and check it out. See if you like the Gold Coast. If you like it, can you
We think you could shift our stuff. We got some...
Yeah. We think that there's an election coming up. You
Yeah,
can do that.
yeah. Put something over here. No. You can be a puppet, right? See.
Sometimes I wonder, but no, don't include that. Don't include that. They must cut that. That cannot be.
You don't. There you go.
There you go.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So some days you wonder. Yeah, and so he brought me down. I saw the Gold Coast for the first time then in a different light as well, because many people have an impression of the Gold Coast as being surfers' paradise, debauchery, and dream world and movie world and sea world. When in fact you come down and you realise that this city is that's 1% of this city. If you haven't been to the Gold Coast, come and check it out, because it is an amazing place. As Drew, you would know. I mean, that's what you focus on as well. The people, the characters, the scenery, some of the places, the beaches are just phenomenal. The hinterland is incredible, and that's what I've enjoyed having come down here, is being able to explore that and go drive, like my job of a day, which I ultimately created, and now they're paying me. They've given me a laptop and a computer and a camera to go and see what the Gold Coast is and discover it myself.
Look where you are today. Like,
here I am.
Yeah.
It's been a crazy little journey like that, and every day it's still growing, because again, I'm not locked to a big news service like Channel 9 or CNN or something, where the format, as you've said as well, is structured to be this. Of a day, I could change it in a heartbeat. I can change how it looks. I can tweak it this way and that way and that way, and still produce Good Morning Gold Coast. And that's what I'm loving about it. Yeah, it's been amazing.
I had maybe 6 months ago, Matt Webber, who's a drive announcer. Yeah,
on ABC.
On
yes.
the ABC. He's got a great story about how he got into it.
Yes, Matt, I listen to the ABC as well.
Yeah. What a great presenter. And
yeah.
He's great. He has the voice too, just like you do. Like, there's a certain tone, a certain voice, the way you speak. Yeah, definitely not like my mates in Logan, that's for sure. But
then yours is developed then as well. I mean, you wouldn't have always been.
I don't know.
Well, you would have been more bogan as well.
Yeah.
I was.
I'm one
Coming
step
from
away.
Darwin.
Yeah, but come on, I haven't heard it yet, though.
Oh, cry! I can't even lapse back into it now.
You just want to go to swear words. I saw you were just about to go.
I was going to go crikey, not anything else. Not what you were thinking.
Well, Matt's story is he loved sport so much, and he was a lawyer, but he could not stand being a lawyer in North Sydney area sort of thing. He was, good part of town, found himself coming up here. I can't remember the full detail, but they kind of pleaded with him. Look, he phoned in one day or something to give the report on what the first AFL game on the Gold Coast.
Oh, okay.
Turns out no one covered it. But he called in and went, well, I'll tell you what happened, blah, 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 blah. And they called him back, the producer. He went for a surf at the alley, in Currumbin Alley, and got back to his board. And the producer rang a few times. Hey, mate, you reckon you could
do this full
do
time
that again next Friday? Go see the next game, and the next game, and the next game. And he was like, okay, yada, yada, yada. That led him to filling in for the guy that was doing it. Right. And here he is, another one of those great voices that you love to hear in the afternoon.
He's iconic on the Gold Coast.
But he raised something quite cool. Like, I said, well, what now? Because I didn't know that story. I thought he was he'd been doing it forever. That's what I thought. He'd been doing it forever, and he's come to the Gold Coast to this cruisy little ABC job. I said, where? You're going to find yourself in a big FM station one day. And he goes, oh. He couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah, really.
Because he's sort of free to speak his mind. It turns out his mind is good, luckily, But yeah, I imagine there's some big pressures in the FM world.
Yeah.
Where not only is everyone trying to get your job, but there's big money and big sponsorships and so much at stake.
Yeah, there definitely is. Even in this job, like, I've made mistakes which have, and you do. You've got to be so careful, because it impacts sponsors, which ultimately impacts revenues, which impacts your job itself. And that's the problem with commercial radio versus ABC Public. You've got to, you don't have to worry about sponsors as much, and commercial agreements. But yeah. Where was I going with that? What was I thinking?
I got you so sidetracked.
No, but you had a good point there about the commercial realities.
Did I? That's a good thing for this show.
Well, see, one thing about my job where I don't have to worry too much.